Before you arrived here, our nation was engaged in 2 wars. Al-Qaeda's leadership was entrenched in their safe havens. Many of our alliances were strained, and our nation's standing in the world had suffered. And over the past 4 years, we've strengthened our alliances and restored America's image in the world.
Welcome back to Opinion Journal. I'm Mary Kissel. We're going to continue on with a Wonderland columnist, Dan Henninger. Turning to your column today, Dan, the President has been lauded, I think, in the media for finally making a statement about his foreign policy, but you read something different in this speech. What?
Well, there were 3 speeches. There was the anti-terror speech, there was a talk that he gave on Memorial Day at Arlington Cemetery, and to the graduates of the Naval Academy at their commencement. And in all of these venues, the President is talking not so much about the war on terror in the last 2, but he keeps saying that our involvement in Iraq ended last year, and our involvement in Afghanistan is going to end. And so we have to redefine the war on terror. And I think he's, in a sense, mixing apples and oranges. These were enormous military commitments in these 2 countries. To me, that is entirely different than the day-to-day intelligence gathering that the FBI supposedly was doing in the Boston Marathon bombers case, but apparently didn't quite, or the CIA or the Defense Intelligence Agencies. And if the President is saying he's redefining the war on terror into something away from what we had after 9/11, my concern is that the bureaucracies will become confused about exactly how intensely they should be chasing domestic terrorists. And any lowering of that guard, I think, puts the American people at risk.
You had one sentence that really stuck out to me, quote, and you were talking about the Annapolis speech, quote, "There's no point at which Mr. Obama even suggests that the efforts of the military who served in these missions was worth it," end quote. He's speaking to people who are going to risk their lives for this country, and he doesn't even explain why.
Very mixed message.
Right, so for the President that's so focused on polls and appealing to audiences, how can he say this?
Well, I think the President himself is ambivalent about military commitments by the United States. And I do think, as I said in the column, you never know where you can distinguish between personal belief and political calculation for the President. I think, Mary, that this President, whether it's Iraq, Afghanistan, or even what's going on in Syria right now, wants the United States not to be involved militarily anywhere because he's so intent on taking the so-called savings from these commitments and reprogramming them into domestic spending. That's where his real belief lies, not with the military.
Okay, well, another great column. It's available in your newspapers and on WSJ.com. Wonderland columnist Dan Henninger, thanks so much for being on the show.